here's our topic number 3 here, talking about carbohydrates. Again, my name is Matt Constantino. I'm an exercise physiologist, and just wanted to, again, continue on this, the topics of nutrition, basic nutrition needs, and macronutrients for exercise and recovery, what the importance are, and whatnot. Another thing that I want to definitely be able to help everyone realize too and understand is, one, I'm not a dietitian, just showing the basic overview of nutrition, and anything that you're doing, please always consult your doctor first before changing anything up and whatnot. Okay? So carbohydrates, what are they? So just a quick recap of what we talked about last time here is it was all about protein and what protein does and how it can help you. Protein equals amino acids. They are the building blocks to repair tools to help repair muscle and fill in the gaps. Most common, or you must consume about every 3.5 to 4 hours, give or take, and about 1 gram per pound of lean body tissue. All right. And so now, what are carbohydrates? I mean, we hear in the news a lot that, carbs are really, really bad. They're made by the devil, and they're going to make you fat and this and that. In all honesty, carbs are not that bad, because you need to have carbohydrates for energy. It is the body's preferred energy source. Okay? It is not protein. Protein is not the body's preferred energy source. What starts getting people into problems is that that's all that they're eating is carbs, 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 carbs. And it doesn't help fill you up enough, but when you balance out carbs with protein, you stay fuller longer and you have a more sustained energy release. So carbohydrates, you need to eat them every day, all day. Okay? Now, certain body types are going to require different amounts of carbohydrates, just like protein and stuff like that, but that's a discussion for a different time. So carbohydrates are a macronutrient. You need lots of them throughout the day. Sugars convert to glucose, so all carbs will break down into the glucose or its derivatives and so forth. So it is energy. All right? That's what it's used for. In order to make a fist, flex a muscle, move your head left and right, you need energy, and you get it from the food that you eat. So 1 gram of carbs equals about 4 calories. So for every gram that you consume, you're consuming about 4 calories. Okay? Or it's gonna generate 4 calories. Any excess carbohydrates will get stored as fat. Okay? So the times, it happens a lot that we will have excess carbs and it gets stored as fat, and when we exercise, if we're exercising at a high enough intensity, the body will utilize those fat stores as its energy stores. Okay? Why carbs convert to fat? Sugar turns to glucose. This spikes our insulin. The glucose rushes into our cells. Cells either accept or reject it. Rejected glucose equals fat. And if you're eating so much of it, the body will end up storing it. Okay? So just keep that in mind as you're eating, chips and Oreos and even excess amounts of fruits and vegetables. If you're eating more than you're actually burning, you will gain, and it will get converted to fat. So keep that in mind. Same with protein. Any excess amount of protein will turn to fat and get stored as fat. So not all carbs are created equal. You need to understand the difference between a complex carb and a simple carb. And the carbs are carbs, but how long it takes it to break down into its simplest form is just that. So, a candy bar and table sugar, they're simple, as opposed to whole grain breads like Ezekiel bread or whole grain pastas and stuff like that take longer to break down. Use a glycemic index, see the short shopping list. Basically, you want to have foods that are lower on the glycemic index. Are going to be better. They're going to help They're going to break down a lot slower. They're not going to affect your blood sugar as quickly. Now, there are certain foods like blueberries that are very high on the glycemic index, but eat those in the morning. You're going to have a lot more time to be able to burn them off and so forth. So here is a kind of little shopping list of different foods that are pretty low on the glycemic index. And so you can look at this. So we got, dense breads. You got Ezekiel breads, traditional breakfast, muesli, high grain, high fiber cereals, vegetables, sweet corn, silver beets, zucchini, eggplant, cauliflower. Disregard the R's in front of these. These are just supposed to. That's just kind of how it copy and pasted, so I apologize for that. Snacks, whole grain crackers, dried fruits. Just be careful of the dried fruits. This is the one thing I'm not too keen about on here, is that dried fruits and stuff. Everyone will say, oh, dried fruits are great, but it's got a lot of excess sugar if you're not making it yourself. Just because it's dried fruit doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. Now, if you are dehydrating the fruit yourself and you're not using a ton of sugar, that's a totally different topic and different story. But if you're buying store-bought stuff that is dehydrated fruit and so forth, you got to watch the sugar content on that, because it will come back to bite you. Again, here's some different nut butters, hummus, fruit spreads, buckwheat, pastas cooked al dente, apples, pears. I typically will recommend, eating the fruits earlier in the day, and not eating so much of them closer to bedtime, because as you're getting close to bedtime, it takes longer to burn off those calories and carbs and stuff like that. So again, another little food log here, just to know where your carbohydrates are, where they are coming from, or the dietary fiber, is it sugar, and so forth. So we want to always try to have plenty of dietary fiber to just keep the pipes clean and keep them moving so you don't get all backed up. So again, 4 guidelines here, and they're for carbs. How much to consume, how often, what foods, carb supplementation. So how often? As needed. I mean, you're going to need it throughout the day, but you don't want to go overboard. And carbs are the one thing that can go snowball really quick. I love my breads. I love my pastas, crackers and stuff like that. It's very good. So always have carb at breakfast, lunch, dinner. And remember when we talked about in the first presentation here, breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, dinner like a prince. And you should have small snacks in between them too, to help fill in the gaps. All right, more in the morning, less at night. And again, we talked about too, and one reason for doing the breakfast and lunch and dinner like that is you have more time to have a heavier breakfast and utilize those calories throughout the day, as opposed to flipping it around. Because if you eat too much too close to bed, it's going to go right to your butt, to your thighs, or wherever, or belly. So you want to be able to have a larger meals to stoke up that fire, and to just throw the small logs on there throughout the day as needed. And then as you're getting closer to bed, you're going to feel better. All right. So how much? About 20 to 50 grams per meal, 10 to 25 per snack. Again, it will change based on people's body types and exercises and so forth. So again, these are general nice rules of thumb. So about 100 to 200 grams per day, 80 to 30 for women, for men. And I'm not a huge fan of, carb cycling this drastically. But, being down at 50 grams for the day, I mean, it's a good thing to, shock the system every once in a while to just keep the body guessing and in a burn mode. So here's a great tool. It's kind of like how we did in the last presentation for protein. Here is something, a little list for carbohydrates, to know how many grams per serving that you may be getting for, say, an apple. rough serving size, so about like the size of your fist, you got 19 grams. Banana, you got about 35 grams of carbohydrates. Blueberries, see, blueberries here, 1 pint, you got about 55 grams of protein. Raisins, seedless, excuse me. So if that's you've got a cup of raisin, that's 130 grams of carbs. I think I said protein back here for blueberries. I meant I meant carbs. So you can see here that we have different, energy is being consumed. So you can see here, passion fruit raw, you got 4 grams of carbohydrates. So you can start being able to figure out how many grams you're getting per, the natural food that you're eating. And that's what we really should be focusing on. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to help educate you and show you how to eat the different raw foods to get the most out of what you're eating and filling in the gaps as needed. So what foods to eat? Whole grains. Avoid our white flours and white sugars. They're very refined. They're overly processed, taking out all the good stuff here. So your whole grains, being able, like your whole grain breads and pastas and rice blends that have got the long grain and all that kind of stuff in it, is going to be more beneficial for you. All right, vegetables, go crazy. Eat the rainbow is really what I kind of point to it here between fruits and vegetables. And I use that saying because it makes people chuckle, because it's not Skittles we're talking about. We're talking about eat the rainbow, eat a wide variety of colors of fruits and vegetables. So, don't just eat all orange like stuff, oranges, carrots. Eat, apples, eat cherries, eat strawberries, eat, cucumbers and broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower, all those different things. So again, this way you're going to, because different foods are going to have different vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in them. So if you eat a wide variety of them, you're going to fill in the gaps and have everything be a little bit more complete. So limit fruits. If you're watching your sugars or trying to reduce body fat and stuff, especially later in the day, typically I will say, try to eliminate fruits and your some of your other carbohydrates later in the day, like we're talking about the breads and pastas and stuff like that, and focus on lean meats and vegetables as you're like for dinner and even a later snack and so forth. All right. Supplementation, you get meal replacement shakes and meal replacement bars that can help fill in the gaps with good carbs and balance out with the proteins and so forth. Carb blockers, I throw those in there because I get questions about those all the time. It's not something that you should be using at every meal, but there are good companies out there that have got some stuff that are going to help block the absorption of certain carbohydrates from meals that you're eating. I shouldn't say certain carbohydrates, but they will block the carbs. So it makes it so that the carbs will bond to that supplement and make it too big to be absorbed or broken down, and so it just gets excreted out. Okay? Everything in moderation when it comes to supplementation. Look for companies that are reputable, that have got solid science behind it, that test for banned substances, and have been around and have a great track record too. All right. Cost is always going to be an issue when it comes to eating healthy, but the issue is here, you got to start thinking about it. You're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later. Pay for it now with filling in the gaps, so you're going to end up having longer life. You're going to have less sick days. You're going to earn more and so forth. And there's a lot of studies and research out there that go and show and have proven all of this. So hopefully that was helpful and beneficial for you, and I look forward to chatting with you again on our next topic. Have a good day.